So you may formerly and currently know me as Mr. Bootcamp. As if you've been through ILEARN 3, you now have a face. Today's presentation, we wanted to talk to you about the new course maintenance policy as it relates to ILEARN 3. Many of you have had experience with this last semester as we rolled it out. We wanted to dive into the specifics, but before we do that, we wanted to give you a 50,000-foot level of how that course maintenance policy it affects you, and some of the reasons why that course maintenance policy had to be updated and how it relates to the new system. And anecdotally, humorously, this morning the AIMS and the OCR managers got to fly up in some airplanes up around Rexburg. I didn't know that my presentation fits so nicely with that, but Elder Clark said something to the effect of this video when he was president of Brigham Young University. Said something to the effect of this YouTube video that we'll watch here. Go ahead. It's pulled up on Firefox already.
Okay. Some people like to climb mountains. I like to build planes.
Somebody needs to go to, yeah, hit escape.
How do I do that?
Just no PowerPoint, just hit escape. And then it will mirror that Firefox.
It is not mirroring.
As a disclaimer, Ron is a Mac user.
Brian says that with a lot of honor and dignity. Brad, do you know how to fix this?
As a disclaimer, I too am a Mac user.
Is it the projector that's frozen?
Yeah.
Because I have the YouTube video up here right now.
Well, I will describe it to you.
Oh, no. That's I'm stupid.
We can unfreeze this monitor.
Yeah, techniques.
It's just not mirroring it.
Yeah, it's not.
You pulled up PowerPoint. Is it X out of it?
Yeah, it's minimized
You have to slide it over to the next screen.
because it's not.
Is it still in presenter mode here?
Oh yeah, let's try to slide it over.
You have to slide it over to the other
Just grab
screen. There you go.
Oh, hey.
We found it.
But now you can't see it on the screen.
Yeah, no, that's
So-
fine.
There is no quality. I mean, this is the best one I could find.
Some people like to climb mountains. I like to build planes in the air. I grew up wanting to be on a wing, wanting to be at this high. Sometimes the temperature up at altitude will reach 60 below. It's brisk, it's refreshing.
You never know what you're going to come across up here. Canadian geese, mallards.
Owls. These people back here, that's why I come to work. That's why I build airplanes in the sky.
We're not just building a plane here. We're building a dream.
I love this job.
I get a lot of thanks up here. When I look over there and I see that little kid, the look in his eyes, that's all the thanks I need.
EDS, managing the complexities of the digital economy.
There you go.
We're not official sponsors of that.
Sometimes, that's right. So take that as it is. So sometimes I feel like in course maintenance, not specifically, but even in online learning, it feels like, and unless I said Elder Clark previously President Clark, it feels like we're building a plane as we're flying it in the air. And this, I think, is an example of, as we are moving forward at tremendous speed, doing fabulous and tremendous things for students across the world. These are some of the housekeeping things as we're building these airplanes, this airplane of online learning that we need to be aware of. And that's what Brian will share with us a little later. Before I introduce him, I wanted to show you some data at this 50,000 feet view that is influencing the decisions providing the backbone for how this, to provide some vision for why this maintenance policy had to be modified. So, advance. I want to swipe it.
I can't see the button. I don't know what it is.
There we go. So first, we're going to show you where we've been. This is the number of online courses during the spring semester back until 2011. As you can see, we started out with just 107, and progressed steadily until just now we have 270. And this number, even in and of itself, isn't super accurate because there are multiple versions. For example, of GS120, there's a block version of GS120 pathway course. There's the current semester version and a modified version. I mean, there's different versions of different courses that course maintenance still has to maintain and upkeep. So 270 courses with the title and then some of their variations. That is a lot that we have the care within our care and keeping.
I think this is the right button.
Yep. There you go. Not just courses. We wanted to get more granular. This is the number of sections, and this has increased dramatically. Same date, 2011, 250, all the way until this semester. We launched 1,323 sections of those 270 courses. Right? That's amazing. Thanks to this course maintenance team to make it work. So again, where we've been. This is the total number of instructors. So all of you folks. Anybody who was here in 2011? Wow. Oh, I guess that makes sense. Leadership, right? Cue the crowd. And so this semester, we have over 1,000. Total number of online students. We're going to see some more dramatic numbers here, but this is dramatic in and of itself. More than doubled in just 4 years. And the last one that I'm going to share, this is the total online student projections. So this is not only where we've been, but also where we're going until 2020. And let me explain to this for the small print. So the different colors, the blue are campus students that are taking online classes. The orange are online degree-seeking students, including the matriculated pathway students. And then the gray is just the first, I mean, it's the majority, but it's the first-year pathway students. So as you can see, we are currently right here. The campus students are taking advantage of it, but it's mainly people that are not on campus that are taking our classes. And as you look out in the next 4 years, I mean, look at this, 38,000, it's almost doubling, right? Almost. And the people that make it work are the course maintenance team. And they have to have, with our system with Island 3, we had to have a policy that was robust enough and also simplistic enough to be able to handle just the volume of courses and sections and students and instructors in order to make these classes have high quality and get these fixes implemented correctly and quickly. And Brian Schow is going to talk more about this. Brian Schow is our course support manager here at BYU-Idaho. And he and Ron Vallejo back here manage a team of how many students?
43.
43 students.
Yeah, we have 43 on the maintenance side and another 6 on for the setup stuff that we do.
Right. So they're driving this plane, right? The course maintenance. So I'll turn it over.
So just to talk a little bit about I just wanted to show you this picture because we have the 40-something, almost 50 students that work for us really are the ones behind the scenes doing a majority of the work. And we have a lot of confidence in these students. When they apply for jobs with us, they come with a pretty good skill set. A lot of them know HTML, JavaScript. They already come knowing how to do a lot of the stuff that we're asking them to do. So as we talk about the processes that we've put in place that kind of follow the guidelines of the policies that I'm assuming everybody has seen. received and seen the policy document? Anybody? So everybody knows and is familiar with it, right? So our students, I just wanted to kind of walk you through the life cycle of a ticket so that you can understand what our employees are facing every day. And we have really put in some pretty good processes. We've fine-tuned all the work that we do. We track everything. So I thought it would be nice just to kind of walk you through this life cycle. So essentially, we have 9 steps that our students follow from the time that they get a ticket and open it up, and they have different things that they do as they walk through the ticket. And this hangs inside the cubicle of every single student's cubicle as a reminder. And essentially, as they go through each stage of this process, they have a checklist of sorts, or they have checklists and rubrics that they follow, and and we're also monitoring, tracking all of those processes as well. So now it's working. So specifically today, the part that I want to talk about, where I think we get a lot of the questions, is on in the policy document, is in this section 3.0. That's a section maintenance policy. So I'm just going to read it real quick, and then we'll kind of go to a ticket so we can see an example. So instructors may choose to fix errors in individual sections. Fixes made by instructors are not to alter outcomes, content, key assessment, or design of the course in any way that violates the integrated curriculum model. On the documents that you guys received, there was another document that explains what the integrated curriculum model was. Errors within the published sections are defined by course maintenance as either critical or non-critical. So that's what I want to show you today, is 2 examples. So one is a critical fix and how we approach that. And the other will be a non-critical. So all errors, regardless of criticality, will be fixed within reference courses by the course maintenance team. So our first and foremost, really we've gone to what we refer to as a publisher model. We've lost some capability in the new learning management system for pushing out fixes. And so we spend the semester getting a course ready to go for the following semester, and then we essentially publish it. And so our main focus, we cross our fingers and hopefully not too many things break in the sections themselves. So our main focus is getting that reference course ready for the following semester. So on critical errors, again, back to the policy document, this is a kind of a vague way to describe what it is. But essentially, anything that prevents the students from progressing through a course as determined by course maintenance. So really, we work in conjunction with the instructors, with the OCRs, with the faculty on campus who have stewardship over the course. But we've built in some leeway for us to make some determinations with the systems. So these will be fixed in individual sections during the current semester by either course maintenance or online instructors. So really these are the critical things that are going to stop progress in the course. So this is an example of a ticket that we might see. And we would deem this as an emergency ticket because it has affected each weekly lesson section. So essentially, what has happened in here is there was some issues with the quiz settings and whether it was going to auto-grade or not. And so our student team would get this ticket, and then they would make, as tickets come in, especially during our peak times when we're really busy, our students will go in and they'll flag it, as either critical, non-critical, emergency, low priority. So we kind of prioritize everything. And as we go through and make those prioritizations, our critical stuff floats to the top of our workflow, and that's the stuff that we work on first. So the next step, after essentially we start the handoff, right? So we have a student come and grab it, and then they'll have some correspondence with the instructor on the ticket. If for some reason we get a ticket in and we don't have the clarification that we need, we'll correspond with the instructor. If you remember on the policy document, it had a sort of a rubric, right? And what it says is, if an instructor sends in this type of a fix or request, and you can go ahead and fix it. And that might be punctuation, spelling, commas, grammatical errors, types of things. But then, so they have a list of these things I can go ahead and fix at the request of the instructor. These things I have to get permission from the OCR and work with them on. These things I'm going to take it up to the course lead so that the course council can work through. So that all those decisions are happening behind the scenes, and then you see the student corresponding with the OCR. So again, so this is an instance where we had quite a few sections of this particular course, and if you remember, in some cases, our team will go ahead and make those critical fixes to a section, but in some instances, we find it necessary to push instructions out to the instructors. So this is an example of one where we felt like either we didn't have the time or capacity to go out with our team and fix it in every single section because of the urgency of it. So what we'll do then is we'll put instructions together. Sometimes they might be a little bit of a little screencast, and we'll just walk the instructors through how to do it in their own sections, or we'll put instructions like this together. What we'll typically do is the student that is working on the ticket will put the instructions together, and then each of our student employees has a shift lead. They will run these instructions by the shift lead. They kind of go through a verification process and make sure what we're sending out is going to work. And then we'll go ahead and send those out. So the thing that I think there's been a little bit of confusion around, or maybe concern about how often we're going to send these out. And what we're hoping, because we are going to a publisher model and we are spending the semester getting the reference courses ready for the next semester, our hope is that we very rarely have to send these out. And we don't expect to have instructors doing this very often in a given semester. Even this semester, with everything that we've had going on, we've sent very few of these out.
What are your plans for instructors and reporting back to make sure, because there's a lot of communication gaps between telling an instructor to do something and actually seeing that email, reading it, and then doing it?
Yeah, so I am going to address that at the end a little bit. But one of the things that makes this challenging, especially if we're dealing with the pathway courses, some of you might be involved in those, there are so many of them. We don't really have the ability to go check in to the sections to make sure it was applied correctly. So
the server from OCR website.
Yeah, it really is. Like, it really then becomes a communication between the OCR and the instructors. So we would, and typically what we've done as well is currently our student employees don't have access to a list of, we have a list of who the leadership is, course council, OCR, but we don't necessarily, they don't have access to a list of instructors who teach what courses. And so they're not typically sending these out themselves. So they'll send these out to the online course representative, and then you would email out. And I guess the expectation would be is, hey, if you guys have any problems with this, let me know. And of course, they can also call our shop if they misunderstand the instructions or need help going through it. We have a level 2 support in our office where they can pick up the phone and call us and say, hey, I got these instructions, but I'm a little fuzzy on how to get through it. And I can get you that. I think some of you probably have the number, but I can get it. But typically what we've done is to try to protect that phone line a little bit more. What we will have instructors do is actually call the BYU-Idaho Support Center, and they're kind of our first line of filtering. and they will just route you guys right to us in these cases. Okay, so again, this is just the ongoing instructions, and typically, something like this for if it's pretty quick and there's a low number of sections, we'll go ahead and fix it. Once we get over a certain point, and depending on the backlog of tickets that we have coming in, we'll pass them out. But typically, these are not fixes that take instructors a long time. These are things that can be done relatively quick.
Are these fixes, do they span semesters?
No, so the hope is, this is just to get you through that semester. And what we're doing, we're setting up the instructions and fixing it in the reference course, so that next semester, this would not be something that we would have to send.
So what I'm doing as a teacher doesn't go to my next section the next semester,
right.
But once a ticket's been created, then you're going to the reference course and getting it to the publish.
Yeah, and that's another good point is what you fix in your reference course or in your section isn't going to be reflected in the reference course. And that's why it's important, especially like as OCRs, to work with your instructors. If they have suggestions for improvements, or there are obvious fixes that didn't get fixed in the reference course, and it's just kind of this ongoing, just things slip through the cracks, we want to make sure to contact our team and make sure that we get those fixed in the reference course.
So I'm an OCR and I have access to my reference course. So when it's just a typo, I can go in and fix in the sections and in that course. But when it's a link that's broken, I can't fix that. But from 2 slides ago, did you say that your students will teach us how to do that?
Yeah, in some cases, if you have, if you have access to the content it needs to link to, yeah, you could call us and we can help you walk through that if that's something that you want to fix in your section. And what we would do is our group would be in charge of making sure that gets fixed in the reference course for the following semester. Let's go here and then back there.
So, based on her question, am I to understand as an OCR, I should have access, direct access to the reference?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
So in some cases, based on projects that some of the OCRs are working on with the course leads, they might have access. And so in some cases they do, and in some cases they don't. It just depends on the course and the interaction that an OCR might have with their course lead.
Would I be able to get that as part of working with the course developer? Can he grant that?
So again, it goes back to the course lead. It's a conversation that the course lead would have to have. And really what it is we're finding that the iLearn 3.0 is very complex. And so at some point, there's some risk involved in the number of people that get into courses. But, as a course counsel, especially with your course lead, he has the ability to, make those determinations as if he doesn't have the time to do certain things, or if he needs more access for someone on the course council. So the way that we look at it is, at some point you have to ask yourself, is it necessary? Is it just because I want to be in there and be able to change the things that I want? Because the biggest challenge that we have with the new system is, in Brain Honey, when changes were made in the system, they were logged and tracked in the system. And we could go through and look at who was making changes, who made what changes. There was an undo button, and that does not exist in Brightspace. And so if someone slips and makes a mistake in the course, it's gone, it's changed. And so from our standpoint, we're working on ways to get people the access that they need, but it's going to come at a price. There's going to have to be some training that has to happen. There has to be understandings of you can do this, but not this. And right now, in the early stages of where we're at in iLearn 3.0, there's just a lot of risk involved in that.
I thought OCRs did have access to the reference course to view it,
Yes.
just like for the next semester to make sure.
Yeah,
They
so,
just can't change it. But
yeah,
they can view
so,
it.
so everybody should have viewer access to the reference course, but there have been, again, this is a system restraint. When we set up those roles in the system, on the Brightspace side, the viewer access can't necessarily view everything. And so that's something that we're currently working on, and we're hoping to have this next time they roll out an update for the iLearn 3.0, that's supposed to fix most of those challenges. Okay, so let me keep going here, and then we'll save a little bit more time at the end as well. But those were great questions. So again, you see that as we go through here, one of the things I want to point out is as we go through the process, we have the communication. We always have a shift lead, is what we call them, monitoring the work that's happening by the other employees. And they're basically going through and they're looking at, are they following the process? Was the fix done correctly? Were the instructions that they sent out good? You know, they're just kind of constantly monitoring that. And then they basically sign off on that and then allow them to send out the email that says, hey, this was fixed. So this would be the confirmation email that you would receive. So if you notice in this last one, if I can get back to it, Zach Williams, one of our students that kind of watches what's going on, he noticed that the student didn't completely follow the process. And so he sent it back to the student to go ahead and make that correction. And then this is another one of our leads who reviewed that ticket, re-reviewed it after the correction was made. So this is, I'll just kind of show you this really quick. One of the things that we built into our processes is the quality assurance. And what we're hoping is that we won't have things that persist from one semester to the next. We want to fix it the first time and we want to fix it right. So essentially we have an individual ticket review. So the student does the ticket, and then we have a training lead and we have a senior lead that both, so they have the shift lead that reviews it, and then we have a training lead and a senior lead that come in and they just kind of spot check everything that had been reviewed and marked off. And what they're constantly doing is they're constantly working together with Ron Vallejo, our coordinator, and saying, hey, we're missing these things. We need to spin off training to fix those. And so we constantly have a feedback loop of how we're doing in our work, the training that we need to spin off from what we're missing. And they're, for example, they're looking at, like a training lead might be looking at like the technical things, you know, did the technical things get fixed correctly? And then our senior lead, they're looking at the customer service things. What was the interaction like with that instructor? Were they rude? And, you know, so they're actually reading the emails and the correspondence and because we don't want to just fix the problems. We want to be nice about it and be helpful. You had a question back there.
Yeah, I've had a few times where I've submitted a fix and it's been closed before I ever had a chance to review it or say, no, you forgot this part, and then I have to start the process all over again. Is it possible that, like, when the OCR sends in something, that they can be part of checking it off and saying, yeah, it is closed, it is reviewed?
Yes, I mean, definitely, yes. So the short answer is yes. The hard thing is sometimes with the volume of tickets that we have, we're just trying to work through them very quickly. And so, for example, it'll go through our review process and it looks good. And so they'll essentially close it to get it off the table with the expectation, yes, that it would be checked. So really, you know, what we ought to do, and Ron and I talked about this is the kind of feedback that we like to hear. So the hard thing is finding that balance of time and speed, right? Like, how long do you wait for someone to check it? Because maybe not everybody's as engaged and checking it, as opposed to this looks good, we need to move on to the next one. So that's kind of the struggle that we have, is finding that right balance, and who's checking what. Because really we have both on the faculty side and on the online instructor side, some people are just really busy and they don't have as much time, or they can't get to emails and things soon enough to be able to check it before we need to move through our process. Okay, so let's see, where am I at on time? Okay, we got a few more minutes. So this one's really easy. So again, back to our policy document. These are non-critical errors. So we'll get something in as a ticket, and again, we have this initial kind of filter that it goes through. Is it critical? Is it non-critical? Will the course function? And in some cases, that is determined by the instructor that sends that in. And in other cases, we'll make that determination. So this is the definition that we have for non-critical errors on the policy document, saying we do not prevent students from progressing through a course as determined by course maintenance, will not be fixed in individual sections by the course maintenance team. So these are the kinds of things that maybe they're not that big a deal for this semester. They can wait till next semester. Or this is something that if it's an issue in your section, you can go ahead and make that correction in your section. But we're not going to worry about pushing out instructions, or if it is even necessarily going to get done in this section. We're going to just focus on the reference course. So this would be, for example, a ticket comes in, and in this case, the instructor said, please make the change to the reference course only. So the instructor helped us make the determination that this is not a critical problem. So this one, in this instance, the groups page is currently located under the welcome course essentials. So it was just kind of how things were put into the course. They looked a little bit ski-wampus. So nothing that's going to hinder the students as they go through the course, but something that's nice to change in the reference course for next semester.
So in the previous ticketing system, we could indicate the priority level, like this is an assignment due today, please help, this is just for future things. So we lost that, so you just want us to put it in the comments. Can we just put it in the comments when I need help today?
Do you want to answer that, Ron? Yes, please. Yes. Please put it in the comments. Yep.
Okay, sweet, thank you.
Yeah, so with the change in the form is the old form that we used was just a web-based form, and we didn't even have access to it, and so there's a lot of broken stuff on it, and we couldn't change it. And so we've gone to a new form that is part of the platform that we use, Team Dynamics. And so there were a couple things that were on the old form that just didn't translate into the new system. But for the most part, everything's still there. But yeah, back to that policy statement, when we say this is determined by course maintenance, again, we always look for the recommendation from the instructor, and it really helps in the decision-making process.
It would, and to go back to your question, and it would be helpful also that you articulate why it's critical. It needs to be, yeah, like we might not be I can't even speak right now. We might not be aware of those extenuating circumstances, so it would be helpful to articulate that in the description, other than a little drop down, is this critical or no? That way we really understand the whole scope.
Well, and the example that he just showed, make this change in the reference course for future semesters kind of thing, and that's
perfect, actually. Yep.
Yep. So really the rest of that was just kind of walking through that ticket, but I mean, is what it was. So sometimes we get tickets in, and the turnaround time is fairly quick because it was sent in by either the OCR, or sometimes we'll get course leads that send them in. We don't have to seek permission, and so they really go through our cycle fairly quickly. But one of the things that, even though we've gotten really fast and a lot better at processing tickets in a timely manner, the one thing that we're trying to really kind of articulate is, with a publisher model, we're really leaning more heavily on the quality side. we want the fixes and the course to be more polished at the end of the semester and ready for the following semester. So even though we're faster than we've ever been, we're going to err on the side of making sure that it's done correctly in the course. So